Omayanatimirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurmilitanyena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Dandavat pranams to all the assembled Vaishnava listeners and participants. So today is Friday and we're continuing with our Bhagavad Gita study. So we've come to the end of chapter 3, which was focusing on karma yoga, right? The path of selfless action. And we have reached chapter 4, jnana yoga, the path of knowledge. So let's see what Krishna has in store for us here. So we can start our audio, right?
Hari Om Tat Sat. Chaturthodhyaya Jnana Yoga Sri Bhagavan Uvacha Imang Vivasate Yogam Praktavanaham Abhayam Vivasyan Manave Praha Manurikha Kave Bravit Evang Parampara Praptam Imang Raja Sayo Vidu Sakale Nehamahata Yogo Nasta Parantapa Saivayang Maya Tejya Yoga Prakta Sona Puratana Bhakto Sime Sakha Cheti Rahasang Chetaduttamam Arjuna Vacha Aparang Bhavatu Janama Parang Janama Vivasata Kathavi Tad Vijaniyang Tamadu Praktavaniti Sri Bhagavan Vacha Bahuni me batitani janamani tapacharjuna tanahang veda sarvani nattang vitta parantapa ayobi sannabhayatma bhutanami sarupishan prakriting swama adhisthaya sambhavami atma mayaya yada yada hi dharmasya glanir bhavati bharata abhutthanam dharmasya Tadatmanam sriyamaham paritranaya sadhunam vinashaya chaduskritam dharma sansthapanarthaya sambhavami yuge yuge janma karma chame dibbam evang jo vetti tattata tatta deham punarjanama naiti mame tisorjuna beat.
Okay, so we just heard the first 9 verses of chapter 4. We'll read these translations. The Supreme Lord said, I imparted this imperishable yoga of knowledge achieved by selfless action to Surya, the presiding deity of the sun. Surya taught it to his son Vaivasvata Manu, who passed it on to his son Ikshvaku. O conqueror of the enemy, thus the saintly kings such as Nimi, Janaka, and others learned this yoga, which was passed down to them by disciplic succession. But in the course of time, this teaching has been lost. Are you there? As you are my devotee and friend, I now reveal to you the supreme secret, the eternal yoga. Arjuna said, Vivasvan, the sun god, was born in ancient times, long before you were. Therefore, how am I to consider that you previously gave these teachings to him? The Supreme Lord said, O chastiser of the enemy, both you and I have passed through many births. I can remember all of them, whereas you, O Arjuna, cannot. Although my eternal form is transcendental to birth and death, and I am the Lord of all beings, I appear within the world in my divine nature by my sweet will, extending my internal potency. O Bharata, whenever there is a decline of religion, and an uprising of irreligion, I personally make my advent. I appear age after age to deliver the saintly devotees, vanquish the miscreants, and firmly establish true religion. O Arjuna, one who comes to know thus the truth of my pastimes, of divine birth and activities, does not undergo rebirth. After giving up this body, he attains me. My grace is revealed to him as my personal, transcendental, joyful potency, Hladini Shakti. His heart is melted in divine love, and he attains my eternal devotional service. Okay, so we've just heard some very key verses of Bhagavad Gita, and welcome Hayes, who's just joined us. Happy you're with us here. So let's go back to the beginning there. So there's been a shift, right? And but there are many different yogas, right? There are several yogas which are discussed. Welcome, Hadi Dev. There are a number of yogas, right, that are discussed in Bhagavad Gita. And there's, we're followers of Bhakti Yoga, right? But there's also, there's different pathways, right? There's the revolutionary path, which is what the members of the Krishna consciousness, like Divya Shakti Didi. she's ran around the corner now, but she's a revolutionary. Divya Shakti Didi, you're a revolutionary. So our gurus, they've come out with this revolutionary message. And I'm remembering this wonderful quote. Ananta Krishna, I know you like that quote very much, right? Where Gurudev is saying, how the prisoners, they've been sleeping in the prison of Maya, but now there's a revolution, right? And now the prison doors have been broken and the prisoners are escaping, right? By the grace of Mahaprabhu, by the grace of our gurus. So anyhow, actually in Revealed Truth, right, there are these very nice chapters, evolution and revolution. So these are like two pathways in Bhagavad Gita, evolution and revolution. There's the constitutional way, like step by step, slowly, steadily advancing. But then there's the revolutionary path, just go straight to the essence, right? And so what does that mean? That means going straight to the heart of what this is. Great to see you, Hayes. And what is that? Jiva, what is this revolutionary message? Jivara Srupa Hoy, Krishna Nitya Das. You are all eternal servants of Krishna, right? The step by step, the slow path is like, yeah, it's okay. You can still be the center of the world. Like we can work with that, But then the revolutionary path is, no, you're actually all slaves. Let me tell you let me give you the real lowdown. You're actually all slaves, but you are slaves to something incredibly wonderful, right? You are all slaves to the great force of love and beauty, right? What is the nature of that central reality? It is beautiful. It is loving. It is friendly. Suhridam sarvabhutanam, Krishna says in Bhagavad. I am your best friend. I got you. Yes, Bhoktaram, Yagya Tapasam, Sarva Loka Maheshwaram. Yes, everything's for me. Yes, I'm in charge. I'm in control. I'm number one. But Suhridam Sarvabhutanam, I love you and I'm your best friend. And giving yourself to me is synonymous with you achieving your highest benefit. Right. So it is an autocracy, but it's a loving autocracy. It's a loving, beautiful, charming autocracy. This is the Krishna-centric world, right, that we are approaching in one way or another. So there are these two paths, right? And Bhagavad Gita is also representing these different pathways. Dandavat, Sadhvi, welcome. So in Bhagavad Gita, right, there's this step-by-step progression, karma yoga, jnana yoga, dhyana yoga, and finally bhakti yoga. And there's also the option to just go straight to bhakti yoga, the path of devotion. But anyhow, right now we are going through these step-by-step, this step-by-step progression of yoga. And Krishna's just in the previous chapter, chapter 3, he was speaking extensively about karma yoga, the yoga of selfless action. And in this, within this progression of yoga, the idea is that through karma yoga, through selfless action, one's heart becomes purified, right? You're living in these clouds of ignorance. You don't know who you are, what you are, where you are. But through simply adopting this mode of life, of selflessly performing your duty without expecting anything in return, there's this natural purification that takes place. Why? Because you're not feeding into the filters, right? You're not feeding into the ego-based filters of I, me, and mine. You're just trying to do your duty in a spirit of selflessness and selfless contribution. And so through that, there's this purification and this clearing of the consciousness that takes place. And then one automatically becomes qualified for the next stage in yoga. And that is jnana yoga, the yoga of knowledge. And so we're going to hear more about that in this chapter. And Krishna is saying here, that previously I shared this knowledge to Surya Dev, right? Surya Dev is the god of the sun god. And Surya Dev passed it on to his son. This is how truth is passed forward, right? And through lines of instruction, what we call parampara in Sanskrit, and that's here, right, in the second verse. Evam parampara praptam imam vajasho. So Krishna is saying there's a parampara of this line of knowledge, and I first gave it to the sun god, and this is also mentioned in Bhagavatam, right? There's a place in Bhagavatam where I believe it's Uddhava. Somebody asked Krishna, like, why is there this jungle of religion? Why are there so many different religions in the world? And then Krishna, there's a very nice verse, which I cannot remember right now, but there's like two key verses there where Krishna is explaining this. And he says, actually, religion is one. There's actually one religion. And he said, and I gave that religion to the first created being in this world, Lord Brahma. And that Lord Brahma, he passed that knowledge on to his disciples and his students, his sons. They passed it on to their disciples, their students. And in this way, there was this whole, this knowledge was passed on from one age to the next. However, everyone has a different capacity for hearing. Everyone has different natures and personalities. And so in the course of this transmission of knowledge, there was some distortion, change, right? And so that's why now we find so many different religions in the world. And this is also our understanding about the Vedic religion, right? That actually the first revelation descended in India, the land of Bharat. And from there, it spread all over the world. And you can still find traces of that. I mean, even in a physical, archaeological sense, there are persons who find so many remnants of the Vedic religion and culture all over the world, right? And we also find that in the various conceptions of religion in this world, right? That you find some link. I haven't come across a single religion in the world that doesn't have some connection with the Vedic thought. You find some reference for it, some source within the Vedic knowledge, right? Because the Vedic knowledge is so broad and so all-encompassing and so detailed, right? And we find something, some source for every thought within the world, within the Vedic text, actually. So anyhow, here in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna is speaking about a different line of disciplic succession. because there's many different streams of knowledge and different lines of transmission. So this is Krishna's here speaking specifically about this knowledge of jnana yoga, and saying, I gave this knowledge to Surya Dev. Surya Dev passed it on to his son, who passed it on to his son. Just giving some context, right? And then describing how different learned kings throughout the ages, they also received this knowledge. However, he says, in the course of time, this teaching has been lost, right? And that is an interesting point, right? And it's an important point, that it is because we live in this mundane plane, the nature of this world is that it's degrading, right? The material energy takes everything down, the spiritual energy takes everything up. So anything within the material plane is susceptible to degradation, right? Everything dies, everything disappears, everything degrades. And that also applies to truth, right? Oh, sorry, Sadhu's asking. We're just beginning chapter 4. We're looking at verse number 3, I think, right now, or number 2. So anything good or anything beautiful in this world, it ultimately has to die, degrade, whether that's a thing or a person, but also concept, right? So Krishna is saying, like, I gave this pure, concentrated truth, knowledge, but simply because of the nature of time and this world, that purity has been lost, and this knowledge has become lost, right? And so this also brings us to the need for constant fresh hearing and fresh revelation, right? That there's this constant need to restore. There's this constant need for spiritual renaissance, right? There's a constant need for reminders, right? Because the nature of this world, as I said, is that things degrade, they get lost, they disappear, they die, right? So we can go on to the next verse here. And number 3, as you are my devotee and friend, I now reveal. Can you, I just want to have a look at the Sanskrit there. This is very, yeah, this is so beautiful. And this is like one of these hidden things in Bhagavad Gita that's really nice to look out for. The sweetness, the friendship, the relationship that is there between Krishna and Arjuna. So if you look at this verse here, right, this Bhakto Sime Saka, the Saka means a friend. Dandavat Ramananda Prabhu, welcome. Saka means a friend, right? So Krishna is saying, I'm giving you this knowledge because I love you. Okay. Bhakto, you are my devotee and you're also my friend. That is something more intimate. And I want to help you. And we can remember also Krishna is speaking to all of us here. This knowledge is actually for all of us. Krishna is our friend and he wants to help us. He's not telling us, I am the Supreme Personality, everyone worship me. He's not saying that because he enjoys having obsequious followers who are just his slaves. He doesn't enjoy that. It's simply that this is the constitutional nature of things, that he is the supreme being, and we are constitutionally loving servitors of his. And becoming aware of that truth is good for us. He doesn't need that. It's good for us. So this is like, this point is made again and again. When you look with the more discerning eye, you see again and again how much love is there for us. So here again, Krishna is saying, you're my friend. I'm telling you this because you are dear to me and because you are my friend. And that applies to each and every one of us. So let's go on then to so I'm now revealing to you the supreme secret. Then Arjuna has a doubt, right? And remember, Arjuna, in a sense, is a prop, right? Arjuna is expressing a doubt that we may have, and also paving the way for Krishna to reveal, to convey more knowledge. So Arjuna's asking this question, like, well, hang on, I thought you're just like my friends, what is this ancient transmission of knowledge that you're talking about? This Surya Dev, he was born in a previous age, and how is it that you gave him this knowledge? Like, what happened, Krishna? I thought you're my friend. Like, who are you actually? What's going on? You know? So Arjuna's like opening that doorway, right, for Krishna to give more knowledge about who he is actually. What is his divine position, divine nature? And I wonder, it actually would be an interesting thing to have a look. I wonder if this is the first place in Gita where Krishna is doing that, because we're still fairly in the beginning of Bhagavad Gita. That's something to check. Where is the place where, no, no, in the previous chapter, there's also some places where Krishna is explicitly saying, this is who I am. I'm God. Okay, so let's go on. So and this is also a nice example too, that Krishna is leaving room for doubt. Krishna is leaving room for a conversation, right? So Arjuna is allowed to express his doubts. Arjuna is allowed to ask questions. This is really an affectionate conversation. And then Krishna's saying, well, there's a difference between you and me, right? And I have this divine cognizance and awareness, all-knowing awareness, and so I can remember all of the different births that I've been through, but you cannot, right? And we can, and Krishna is also indicating the next verse, right? When Krishna is appearing in these different births, that's a part of Leela. That's a part of his divine play. It's not like a necessity of karma, as it is in our case, right? We have to take all these different births because it's our karma. We have to pay our dues. But in Krishna's case, it is his sweet play, that he, for various reasons of his own independent will, he's appearing in different forms at different times. And generally for our benefit, for our sake, for our upliftment. And I remember our Gurudev once, he also joked a little about this fifth verse where, Krishna is telling Arjuna, I can remember all the births I've been through, but you cannot. And our Gurudev, he joked saying like, and that's good for you, Arjuna, like it's good for us to not know. Like I really don't understand persons who, I mean, no offense if any of you have done it, but go try to understand their previous births, like through hypnosis and all these things. Like I really don't want to know, I think it would just be horrifying to know everything that I've done in my previous, like I'd rather just keep that can of worms closed, like I have enough memories in this life, to deal with and to process, what to speak of what's happened in previous births, right? Just rather not know that, like it's like, you want to deal with trauma from the last 10 lifetimes or just deal with the trauma of this lifetime. Like there's enough on my plate, enough with just that, and also, simply that, we're ultimately pragmatic and practical people. Like whatever happened in the past and whatever happened in the future, let's just deal with the now, let's grow and learn with what's in front. Like that's already a lot, right? But anyhow, so in this verse number 6, Krishna is like clearly stating what is his divine position. And then this verse number these verses 7 and 8, these are very famous verses, which practically every Hindu that you meet will know. Like if you had to pick out like 5 verses in Gita that are the most famous, and influential, these two would definitely be there. This Yada yada hi dharmasya glanir bhavati bhadata bhutanam dharmasya tadatmanam shajamiham. So if any of you are interested in preaching, especially to Indians, you definitely have to know these verses. Otherwise, they won't take you seriously. So these are very encouraging verses, very uplifting verses, where Krishna's making a promise, a declaration, saying that whenever there is a decline of religion, whenever things get so bad in this world that like up is down and down is up, he says, I will come to restore things, right? I'll come to put things in order. And Paritranaya sadhunam, I come to protect my devotees. And again, Krishna's affection is coming out here. I come to protect my devotees who I love. And vinashaya chadushkritam, and to destroy, here it saying the miscreants, which it's not such an often used word, the bad guys, the demons, or however you want to put it. So I come to protect my devotees. I come to restore righteousness, to destroy unrighteousness, and to set things in order. Dharma samsta panartaya. I come to establish the Dharma. Right? And so this happens in many ways, right? The Lord, we hear of yuga avatars, right? That there is a specific avatar, a designated avatar of the Lord who comes in each age to establish, Dharma samsta panartya, to establish what is the Dharma of the age, right? And so in this age, like Kali Yuga, that is said to be Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who comes to spread the Dharma of Harinam Sankirtan, this practice of Kirtan, which is the most wonderful practice recommended for this particular age of time. So this principle of the Lord coming to help us, it's expressed in that way through the Yuga avatars. It's also that, but this is also coming through the Lord's divine agents. So that means Sri Guru and Vaishnava, right? Sometimes the Lord is empowering his beloved devotees to come into this world to, again, give some order, right? And establish what is truth, to give us a reference point of what is real truth, and to actively help us at the same time. So that the Lord himself may come and do this, carry out this mission, but sometimes he's empowering his beloved devotees, and they are fulfilling this mission. And we can also think like this principle, we can also think of it in a very personal way on our own journeys, right? That, that again, as I was saying, like there's this, in this world with the degrading energy of this plane, there is a constant need for fresh revelation, right? For fresh awakenment. And there's a need for us to constantly expose ourselves to the truth and to higher sources of knowledge, right? Because the material environment, the material energy is very strong, and it's always trying to pull us away. And so many things will come, our karma, different circumstances in the environment, may come from different people around us who aren't helpful. There's always going to be something that's going to try and take us away. And so there's a constant need, and our own minds will take us away too. So there's a constant need for us to expose ourselves to sources of truth, right? We need to constantly do that. And this is where our sadhana comes in, right? That love, that discipline that we have to tune in, right? There are these two currents that are running parallel in this world, right? There's the current of Mahamaya, that material energy, which is taking us away from the center. Srila Sridhar Maharaj refers to it sometimes as like the out-carrying current. And then there's the incoming current. That's the flow of Yoga Maya, the Lord's spiritual energy, which is taking us in towards the center, to the heart of reality proper. So these two currents, they're flowing parallel to each other. And we always have that choice. Which one are we going to tune into? Right? Which one are we going to tap into? And I'm sure we've all had these experiences where we have these shifts from one to the other. Sometimes it can be shocking how quickly it happens. Like for example, I mean, it can be dramatic, like for example, you're like feeling really low, you're really feeling the weight of the material energy. And then you go join a kirtan, right? Or you go hear a talk, or you have some type of darshan. And it's like sometimes it can be almost instant. Wow, like what happens? Like what happened? There's the shift. You moved out from that out carrying current, from that material current. You tapped into that in carrying current, the spiritual current, and you feel it, and you're smiling all of a sudden. A few moments before, you wanted to jump off the cliff. You thought it's the end of the world, but suddenly you're happy. Suddenly you're smiling. Suddenly you're dancing. So we one way our Gurudev would explain this, the jiva's soul is very small. Like our energy is very small. We're tiny. We're infinitesimal particles of consciousness. And because of our smallness, it is our nature to become overpowered by a greater energy than ourselves, right? And so it's explained that the material energy is actually inferior, like qualitatively speaking, the material energy is inferior to us. However, because it's so big, it's easy for us to become overwhelmed by it, right? But at the same time, if we tap into the spiritual energy, we can also get overwhelmed by that energy. And that's a very wonderful thing. We are adaptable, right? That's our classification. The classification of our species is that we are Tatastha Shakti. Tatastha literally means on the bank, on the margin, means we can go either side, right? We can go to the material energy, we can go to the spiritual energy. So we have this duty to constantly try to tap in, because we're not in our current state, we're not in the safe territory yet, right? We're not in home territory yet. So we have that need to constantly actively connect, dynamically connect, and make that conscious choice. And that's where the sweetness comes in, because you can be like, what the heck is this? Some weird kind of game where I'm being tested all the time? But it's actually very sweet and beautiful, because we're being given the opportunity to exercise our free will and say, this is what I want, right? Krishna, I'm doing this because I want to do this. I'm doing this because I want to love you. I'm doing this because I want to have a relationship with you, right? So that's where the sweetness comes in. It's not about some weird obstacle course that's against you. It's not like the world's against us, but it's about us having a choice and us having the opportunity to assert our choice and say consciously, this is what I want, right? This is what I want, like Hari Dev said that to me the other day, where he was confronted by someone, I don't know what it was, offering him something or expressing something contradictory. And he said, but I'm happy I could have the chance to stand up for my principles, right? I'm happy I could have the chance to stand up for what I believe in, right? And then it becomes something beautiful, right? At one point it can be like, oh man, everything's against me. Why is it so hard? But then it becomes this beautiful expression of free will and an assertion of what I want. What do I want really? And Krishna, I'm choosing to move to you. Krishna, I'm choosing to enter into your embrace. His embrace is there for us. He's waiting for us, just like that beautiful pastime of Gopa Kumar, right? When Gopa Kumar first comes to Vrindavan, enters Vrindavan, he's a newcomer. Nobody knows him. but Krishna is immediately going to embrace him in ecstasy and fainting in ecstasy. So our Gurudev said very beautifully once, we will not be satisfied until we reach the embrace of Krishna. Our hearts will not be satisfied until we reach the embrace of Krishna. So we've had some taster, some touch of what this all is, right? And now we can't forget it. Just like Gopakumar, right? He receives that mantra, the Gopal mantra, the Krishna mantra from his guru, and through that mantra, he's making the mantra's carrying him. This is what a mantra is. It has its own trajectory, and it wants to take us to its source. So Gopakumar is chanting this mantra, and it's elevating him. It's bringing him from one plane to another plane. But wherever he goes, he's not quite satisfied. He reaches some pretty cushy positions within the strata of consciousness, but he's not satisfied. Something's missing, and it's only when he reaches the sweetness of the embrace of Krishna that he feels, oh, here is my home, right? Here I have full satisfaction. So anyhow, these verses are very encouraging and instructive, right? At the same time, that yes, the Lord is always coming from his side to try to help us, to uplift us, to restore the Dharma, the true path. But we also have to cooperate with that, right? We also have to make that effort to move towards that and say, yes, I want this. I want to reciprocate with this beautiful, friendly, loving reality. So we can go on to, right, so we have here the translation of verse number 9. This Janma Karma Chame Divyam. This is an important verse, and there are some, different ways to appreciate this. One who comes to know thus the truth of my pastimes of divine birth and activities does not undergo rebirth. So this is, on one level, this is explaining Leela, right? That Krishna, one way I like to explain what Leela is, which we generally translate as pastimes or play. One way I like to explain it is that which is not necessary, that which is unnecessary, right? Like, Oscar Wilde, the Irish writer, he had that statement, all art is quite useless. All art is useless, right? Which when you first hear it sounds like an insult, a critique, but it's actually glorifying art, saying it fulfills a purpose beyond mere utility, right? Art is exploring a finer world of that which is unnecessary, far beyond mere utility, right? So it's exploring the worlds, the subtle world of love, beauty, heart, expression, charm, all these things. And so Leela is something that is not necessary, in the sense that Krishna is not bound. It's not that Krishna has to do these things in the way that we have to. But Leela is what Krishna chooses to do for his play and his purpose, right? So Krishna is saying here, it may look like I'm taking birth and dying and all these things just like an ordinary person, but it's actually something divine. Can you go up, Ananda, to the Sanskrit there? So Janma Karma Chame Divyam. Janma is birth, right? Janmashtami, right? You all know the word Janmashtami. So Janma's birth. So my birth and my karma. Karma actually just means action, activity. That's the original meaning of the word karma. So my birth and my activities, they are all divyam. Divyam, divine. It's like the same word. The English must have come straight from the Sanskrit. So my birth and my activities, they are all divine. They are all divyam. So it looks like I'm just an ordinary person in front of you, and I'm taking birth and dying and all these things, but this is actually my lila. This is my play. And he says, and one who can understand this, evam yoveti tattvata, one who can understand this truth, tyaktva deham punarjanma naiti mam eti sarjina, they will not take birth again. One who, in other words, one who can really appreciate my divine nature and adore that and worship that, they will be liberated. They will be liberated, by that realization. And that also means even while living in this world, right? Jivan mukta, there's this beautiful phrase, Jivan mukta means someone who is liberated even while living in this world. It's not that when you die, then da 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 da, but it's a stage of consciousness. So even while you're active in this world, you can attain this divine realization and be a Jivan Mukta, liberated soul walking on this earth. And our Gurudev, he also gave another beautiful explanation about this verse, that this is also, what's also being expressed in this verse is that we have to come to appreciate substance over form, right? That there is this tattvataha, right? Means to understand, means to understand substantial truth over the appearance, right? That's also what Krishna is saying here. Don't be fooled by your eyes, by objective truth, but try to appreciate what is subjective truth, what is internal, spiritual truth. We can also call this Paramahamsa Dharma, right? The Paramahamsa is the Vaishnava who is like the swan, right? The swan can take the milk from the water. You mix milk and water and the swan can extract the milk. So the great Vaishnavas, they're described as Paramahamsas, or great swans, that they have this ability to extract the spiritual essence, see the spiritual truth in any given situation. And so our Gurudev gave a very beautiful example of this, that there is this story. He told this story of, it was a god brother of Srila Sridhar Maharaj. His name was Goswami Maharaj, Bhakti Saranga Goswami Maharaj. And he was traveling and preaching in India. And at one time, they were staying somewhere where they didn't have any contacts there. So they were just staying in some type of hostel. And they went to have their meal. And in the Vedic tradition, there are some very strict things that are followed, right? And so one of those is no onion and no garlic, right? Which, in our Western world, it's not such a big deal for those of us following, but in the for like in the Brahminical, traditional Brahminical culture of India, this is very serious. It's considered, very contaminating to eat these things. And so anyhow, they went to eat lunch at one place, and they received the meal, and there were some onions in it. And one of the brahmacharis there, he was disturbed, saying, "Oh, we can't eat this. This is impure. It has onions in it." But Goswami Maharaj, the sannyasi, he said, you are seeing onions, but I'm seeing Mahaprasad, right? I'm seeing Krishna's grace upon us, right? I'm seeing the mercy of Krishna, that, we need to eat something, we need to nourish our bodies, and Krishna has provided this prasad for us, and you're seeing it's impure, but I'm not seeing any impurity. Maybe from a material perspective, there's some impurity, but this is something divine. This has come from Krishna. Spiritually, it is pure, right? So our Gurudev, he said, this is tattvataha, right? This means to understand what is the substance, right? So we can apply this principle everywhere, right? In different circumstances and different people or devotees that we know, that we may see some external cover that is impure, But what is at the heart, right? What is the essence of this situation or this person, right? So to not be, there are also these terms, Bharavahi and Saragrahi, right? Bhaktivinoda Thakur talks about this. Bharavahi means a load carrier, someone who carries a heavy load. And Saragrahi means an essence drinker, one who drinks the essence. And the idea is that one way our Gurudev said it, there are two types of practitioners: those who are fixed on the external view of things, that, oh, it's supposed to be like this and it has to be like that, and da 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 da. And then there are those who are seeing what is the actual essence, right? That we are. Sounds like I'm hearing myself in the kitchen over there. I think Devi Shakti is playing something, I don't know. Sorry, just a little freaky here. So Saragrahi or Bharavahi, right? To be fixed on the external aspect of things, what it means to practice Krishna consciousness, that I do this and I do that at this time and that time, and everyone else is supposed to do this and do that at this time and that time, right? But then there's what's the heart of what we're trying to do, right? We're trying to transform our hearts, right? We're trying to become purified of our material attachments, lust, envy, anger, greed, all these things. And this is really at the heart of what we are trying to do, right? There was one talk that our Gurudev gave once. It was in Australia, at the end, I think it was the first world tour, first visit to Australia. And our Gurudev was saying, we've opened a temple here. And, one way to approach this is, we have a temple, we have to maintain it, and we have to take care of the building and the garden, and there are all these duties we have to do, and so on. Of course, that's a part of it. But then he said, but actually we're here to practice Krishna consciousness, And he also quoted this expression of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, saying, I'm not a construction maker. I'm not here to just build temples. And, but we're here to spread the message of Mahaprabhu. And there was one time, Saraswati Thakur, he even said, if necessary, we can sell the bricks from our temples in order to print books. Like, that's how radical he was on this point. We can sell the we can sell the bricks if we need
marble.
to. Sorry, what did you say, Prabhu?
He said marble.
Marble. Yeah, these expensive marble bricks, slabs, he said, if necessary, I'm not here just to make buildings, but I'm here to spread the message of Mahaprabhu. So to keep our focus on this substantial view of things, right? This is to practice real Krishna consciousness. Okay. And this verse, yada yada hi dharmasya, I feel like there's so many ways in which we can appreciate it, because it's really like this supreme statement of encouragement that Krishna is giving, right? Because we can also think that he's saying here, whenever you're in trouble, I'll come to help you. Whenever you need help, I will be there. Right? I will come to help you in one way or another. Right? I will make an arrangement for you. Yada yada hi dharmasya glanir bhavati bharata bhutanam adharmasya. Whenever irreligion is rising up and religion is declining, I will come. So whenever we're in trouble, we can also have this kind of confidence. This is one of the limbs of Sharanagati, one of the limbs of surrender, right? There are these 6 limbs of surrender One of them is confidence in the Lord's protection. To have this confidence. Avasya Rakshibo Krishna. Vishvasya. To have this confidence, this conviction that Krishna will protect me. Things, when the going gets really tough and I feel I can't do it anymore, Krishna will make some sweet, beautiful arrangement for me. That there's always some, some doorway, some hope, some light there to guide us. And if we don't see it, then we have to wait for it, but it will come. So sometimes there's that suspense of waiting. And I've seen that, and I've experienced that myself, and I've seen that in so many cases. So our Gurudev used to say, not to be hopeless, right? Never to be hopeless. Krishna is there, Guru is there, the light is there. Sometimes we just have to wait a little bit. But that lifeline will come, right? Sometimes we may feel like we're drowning, right? Or lost, but that lifeline will come. It will be thrown to us. The lighthouse will turn on. The guidance will come. The direction will come. So sometimes we just have to be a little patient and wait for that, So much encouragement here in Bhagavad Gita for all of us. Well, I think we can stop there for today. Does anyone have a question or want to share a comment before we close for today? So happy we could go through these verses with all of you. Good souls, great souls, noble souls.
I have something, just a question.
Yes.
So now it's a digital age, so we have so much resources practically on finger touch. So I've been going different places. So different devotees explain different ways. So how to stay focused on the substance, stay focused on the Vani instead of form. The Gurudev said also I'm form breaker, but there. So thank you.
Well, it's a good question. I think there's two aspects to this. On one level, we can be selective in what we are intentionally going to hear, right? If we know, for example, if we know that going to a certain place or being around a certain person entails us hearing something that's not going to be helpful, then we can consciously avoid that, right? We can intentionally avoid that. So that's one thing. There's the element of our own choice. But then sometimes we will, just in the course of things, be exposed. We can't all live but under the blankets. We can't always live in the fortress, right? So it's inevitable that we will, in the course of life, be exposed to hearing things that we don't really want to hear, right? Which isn't helpful, or different angles of vision which we don't agree with, or whatever it is. And again, we can also apply our intention there. We don't have to absorb that, right? And it's important that we always check in with the source, right? It's important that we have some source of knowledge or sources of knowledge that we do rely on, that are reliable, right? So, listening, hearing from Guru and the Vaishnavas who we do trust, checking in with that, or reading the scriptures that are reliable sources of knowledge, checking in with that, It's important that we regularly are doing that, and in that way our faith will build. And when our faith is very firm, we won't be affected by hearing all these different things, because we know what is truth. So what? It's natural that different persons will have different opinions and perspectives, and there's a gradation of knowledge, there's a gradation of truth everywhere, right? So once our own understanding and our own faith is more firm, we can hear these different things and we can place them. Okay, this person's at this level of understanding, and it's like, okay, a person in grade 1 is talking like a person in grade 1. A person in kindergarten is speaking like a kindergarten student. Like, so what? I'm not going to take that very seriously. I like this one line in Chaitanya Charitamrita. It's telling this incident with Haridas Thakur, and he's like publicly insulted by this one man. But it specifically mentions in Chaitanya Charitamrita, it says that Haridas Thakur was not disturbed because he knew that man was ignorant, And I thought, how nice, like, why is it even an issue? Like, if a stupid person says something stupid, why is that even an issue? Everyone has a right to speech, to free speech. But it's not always so black and white, because, as I said, right, there's a gradation of truth. But as we develop in our own knowledge and understanding, our discernment will also develop. And our capacity to discern and to place different persons and their level of realization, that will become easier for us. Okay, this person is speaking at this level. But then we're also checking in with our own source of knowledge and understanding, and know, but this is the higher truth. This is a higher perspective. Right. And we also don't need to get into a fight with everyone, right? Just like you wouldn't get into an argument with the kindergarten student. Like, okay, pat them on the head and go on with your day, right? It doesn't have to become an issue, right? Of course, if they inquire from you, that's something else, right? So everyone has a right, everyone's on their own journey, and everyone's at a different stage on the journey. And we're also on our journey. So we can pay our respects to everyone and carry on our journey, right? Happily. Those are my thoughts on that, But yes, to a certain extent, we need to protect ourselves and avoid people and persons and circumstances that we know are going to uninspire us, right? We can try to protect ourselves in that way. But as I said, naturally, we will be exposed, and we need to have some inner tools and developing sense of discernment so that we can understand how to place everyone and their level of understanding. So I hope that's helpful, Prabhu.
Yeah, thank you so much. Very helpful. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, by Gurudev's mercy, I've been going around meeting a lot of nice devotees, all kind of Vaishnavas. He is so qualified. I went to some family home and they had beautiful altar, nice parvachan, nice prasad. Lot of things happen, yeah. Yeah, by Gurudev's mercy, devotee comes and pick me up, and then we go. Yeah, so I try to help him. Also, I can see he's on lower level. So I don't try to push, but I try to share whatever. Yeah. Like Gurudev said, wait and see. It works actually. Thank you so much, Vishaka. Yeah.
Okay, Prabhu, Dandavad. Thank you all for your good company. Very happy we could share these verses today. I'm very grateful for that. And wish you all a good day ahead, and look forward to seeing you next time. Jai Srila Bhakti Sundar Govinda Dev Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. all the assembled devotees and sincere seekers ki jai. Shri Harinam Sankirtan ki jai. Shri Shri Guru Gaur Chandra Ju ki jai. Nitai Gaur Premanande. Haribol.
Thank you, Vishaka.
Oh, thank you. Glad you could join, Hayes.
Me too. Me too. I liked that. That was
Okay,
great.
awesome, awesome. Okay,
Yeah,
see.
the choice. I like the idea of choice.
Hmm.
Of
Hmm.
going towards Krishna.
Hmm. Yeah, we definitely have choice. A lot of choice. Sometimes too much choice.
Yeah.
But really, it's something I've been noticing more and more in Bhagavad Gita, like actually like how polite Krishna is. Like
Yeah.
he gives so much space. He's always like, this is what I think. What do you think? What's your decision on this? There's so much room there. It's
Right.
like
Like the Bhakta. You're saying that verse earlier too. It was a Bhakta Simi Saka,
okay,
I
yeah,
think.
you have it in front of you, yeah. Um,
I think it's verse
so
3.
3, Bhakto si me saka cheti. Yes. Yeah, isn't that beautiful? Yeah,
Yeah.
the closer you look, you see like how much affection there is in Bhagavad Gita, how much affection there is from Krishna's side towards us. So much, this conversation is deeply rooted in love and affection.
Mm. That's awesome. I think I didn't like notice that ever. So thank you.
Mhm. I mean, I've been reading Bhagavad Gita for some years now, and it's only recently that this has been like coming out. Like it's just becoming more clear. Like, because it is a little hidden. It's not so hidden, but there's just a lot going on, and so it can be easy to miss this. But when you start to look out for it, you see it's everywhere.
Mm.
And I appreciated a few months ago, it was with Suvasini Didi. She's a very lovely devotee and something of a scholar, and she, I think it was the second or third chapter, and she was pointing out in this one span of like, it's like maybe just 5 or 6 verses, and Krishna was repeating again and again, do not lament, Arjuna, do not worry, Arjuna. It didn't come across so clearly in the English, but when you looked in the Sanskrit, the same phrase was being repeated again and again. I have to look to see what it was. Do not lament, do not worry, Arjuna, do not worry. Like it was like 3 or 4 times in this short space. And you realize how personal this is, this discussion. So personal and so loving. So we are
So
told.
if we remember our nature, true nature, then we don't have to worry. If we fix in self-realization, that we are unborn, we don't die.
Mm.
But when we get covered, then that's why Krishna reminds him, yeah, nothing can kill you.
So we have the search for Sri Krishna, right? This is one of our books. I think maybe you took a copy of that, Hayes. The search for Sri Krishna. And then we also have loving search for the lost servant, right? So from our side, we're trying to approach him, but from his side, he's also approaching us lovingly, loving search for the lost servant. With love and affection, he is chasing after us, actually, trying to bring us home, sweet home. All right. See you next time. We will.
Dandavat.
Dandavat.